A lot to say.
Good luck, guys.
Oh, okay. So, hello, everybody. Welcome to the jury roundtable for Distortion Season 2. So here we are discussing the games of the final two players, which are Mikey and Sean, if I remember correctly.
It's hard to remember, right?
A
It's
little
really
bit.
hard to remember.
I got brought into this like 2 days ago, so yeah. Okay, before we get started, I'll just reiterate this right here. This is a game at the end of the day, so everything that is said here should be about these two individuals' games and nothing about them personally. If anything like that is said or used as a means to taint their game or anything, that will be a big no-no, and we will call that out as it is. Okay, that being said,
I don't know anything about either of them personally enough to be able to use that anyways.
then let's keep it that way. Okay, so let's start with Mikey. If anyone has comments on Mikey's game and how Mikey has gotten to this spot.
What if we don't?
What if we what?
What if we don't?
No.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well,
Yo,
okay,
I'll give you
but
this.
ask questions like
You make
that.
all-
I just feel like the two least remarkable people in this game ended up in the final two out of like this pool. So like I feel like we need more pointed questions. We need some structure to evaluate here.
I wouldn't necessarily say like least remarkable. It's like it's the biggest question marks. We don't really know what they did throughout this game. So it's going to be a lot of what they say.
Okay, so then let's do that. Let's start with Mikey and say what questions you would like them to answer that would, in theory, get your vote.
Do we even know what questions we want to give?
I don't know.
I know
like,
for me.
Oh, go ahead, Cam.
Oh, I just have mine written down because, like, with Mikey at least, I feel like he's a good player. Like, no denying that. But I just don't really see like his social game because I didn't connect with him that much. Then again, that could be on me as well because I know we both work. But I just really didn't speak with him much, so I don't really know much. I want to hear what he has to say at Final Tribal.
So I was voted out of this game fucking forever ago. But the one thing I can say that I did get from Mikey is the round that I was leaving. Basically, he said something along the lines of like, you know, I've lost a lot of allies. I feel like I'm kind of at the bottom and things like that. He was, I guess, very close with Hearn early on and said like, you know, they were kind of being paired together as like a duo. So he was like trying to find allies and things like that. And so it seemed like that's how he played. But again, I left so early. I don't know. So like, go ahead.
So Mikey lied to you. That the round before you went, the boat got formed, right, Jacob? Right, Brian? Right?
Yeah. No, I think I formed that round at the merge.
Yeah, he was at. I know we said in the chat, Kevin got to go. Like I definitely know we said that. But my thing is, I think it's either I'm going to pick one of them. That's the question too. But right now, my only question to them is, without the boat, where do y'all end up in this game? Without the burrito, where do y'all end up in this game? Without me, where do y'all end up in this game?
Follow-up question. Without Karen, where do y'all end up in this game?
What move did
feel like
y'all make yourselves?
I think Mikey played a better social game with me than he did with other people. Like Cam can attest to that, but I can attest to that. I think if he's with you, he'll be social with you. And he was winning immunities. His name was out there, but I don't think he was ever seriously considered as a target. So I find that impressive. And his social game was obviously good enough that people didn't want to target him for whatever reason, but partially is because he was part of the boat, which like it was great credit that he was part of the boat. That saved them both, to be honest. So I agree with that.
Nessa, I know that Nessa has her hand raised. So
Yeah, just regarding his comments during the Kevin vote, somewhere in like the middle of the swaps, I was already kind of like felt like I was functionally a duo with Glow. I was tracking everybody's like swaps as much as I could, and I noticed that Hearn and Mikey a whole bunch. So I considered them functionally a duo. And I like pulled them together and like made a chat for the four of us. It was the round after like the telephone game. So it was called Sharks Wielding Baseball Bats. So it was, he could have reconnected with me, but that didn't really happen at the fake merge. He was kind of like negligent about that the whole time. But that is like one more piece of like where Hearn was with him and where Glow turning on Hearn and Hearn turning on me kind of made the stability of that being anything he could rely on like out of the question. So there's probably other things he was referring to, but that at least was like something he could have had that he didn't have anymore at that point.
It's actually, you say that because I was trying to keep track of the swaps as well, and my read on Mikey's relationships going into the merge was that group, but with Ian swapped with Glow. I didn't know you and Glow were that close, so I thought, oh, Glow and Vanessa weren't allowed tribes together. Mikey and Hearn were. Maybe that's a potential group, a contingent of people that could possibly be working together. Although I will say that I give Mikey credit because I feel like he was more not necessarily down on his luck. I think more immediately at a deficit with losing Hearn as a close ally, who I thought was his number one. They were on the original swap tribe together. They've been, I think, together from every round up until the fake merge, and then they've been able to disperse and distance off, which was a huge motivation, I guess. It encouraged, it incentivized me, it enticed me to get rid of Hearn at that point because I hadn't swapped with Mikey up until that point. My biggest, my pros for him aren't even ones that are there's evidence for in this game because I played with him multiple times before and I know what he's capable of, not only on a physical level, on a social level, and a strategic level. Seeing him make it as far as he has in both of those games had made me believe that I know how strategically capable he is. I know how socially amicable and how flexible he is in the game. I know that obviously he can win competitions when need be, but I guess my question is, how much initiative do I feel like Mikey had on his own? I felt that while Mikey, I think, was a bit more socially active, I think more a bit out there, not only as someone who was physically just winning more immunity challenges, but someone whose name was never written down to my knowledge. I felt that Sean, I think, was more like willing to start conversation. I mean, that's at least in my personal perspective. I felt like Sean expressed more strategic thoughts, at least like, what's the merit of this move over another move? Is this really the strategic move? But I don't really know what Mikey did in that aspect other than maybe his relationship with Sean.
Karen raised her hand, hasn't spoken.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Well, you've had your hand raised longer. It's okay. I feel like Karen's gonna keep chiming in. Okay, well, like Jacob, you brought up the point. Mikey's never had his name wrote down, but like, I don't know. I might be a little biased here. Someone else never had her name wrote down either until it went to Fire, and she was a much more public target. So that's the thing. What was Mikey doing? Was it because of his good social game, or was he just that fucking forgettable?
Also, how many immunities did Mikey win?
4.
4 now?
That's another thing. Like, did he need them, or like, you know?
Right.
Yeah, but I think it's because he wasn't talking. He wasn't driving any comment. He was just listening.
My thing is, and I still feel as if I gave Mikey a lot of info. I let him in the know of things, kept him updated, kept him close with our burrito. Got him to work with Karen, kept him in good graces with Karen. I was doing a lot for Mikey. There's only one thing I can think of where I'm like, Mikey played his own game. He got to 2 on his own. And that's when Brian went out and Mikey was with us. But if Mikey and Sean are really a final 2 this whole time, Mikey had me and Karen convinced he wasn't in the know. And if he reveals that he was in the know, I will be impressed. I will respect it. And I might just vote him to win. Thank you, America.
But that's not something he did. That's something that he didn't do, or it appears he didn't do, right?
I mean, yes, but he had me in.
But that's some long planning because I was convinced he wasn't in the know because of how he also voted along with the boat that round. And Sean made it seem like like as far as I know, as Keaton has told me, when the plan was first hatched, it was Sean was going, it's Karen or Mikey on who was going to actually go. And then Sean and I talked and I got it to be Brian.
But
So,
if it is true that he was in the know, then it just makes me feel like he was just given opportunity after opportunity and it just kind of fell into his lap. And he didn't really do anything to get here.
I don't think he was as active as a player as his opponent, in my opinion. And do you all agree?
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
100% agree.
With that, let's then shift the conversation over to Sean. I guess same questions. What? I just saw one of these. So
I'm just too annoyed to speak on Sean right now, so I will mute myself.
all right. If anybody else has comments on Sean's game, the good or the bad, feel free to talk.
Wesley, do you have anything to say about Sean? I feel like you would know, right?
I was pretty impressed with Sean socially myself, but like especially compared to Mikey was fairly low key socially. I feel like Sean was someone who I am a bit biased about because I'm not sure how true this is, but he felt like he had my back more than anyone else in his entire merge cast.
But did he tell you why? Because he was telling us he just wanted to goat you because he thought you would be an easy win. Like, did he mention why?
I mean, he was right.
Yeah, I mean, like, does that factor in at all?
I'm gonna ask right now, this jury right now, if Wesley's in final 2, I get final 3. Final 2, are y'all gonna look at me and say you wouldn't vote Wesley to win?
That doesn't speak for me.
It definitely would be dependent on the speech, I think.
Right.
I would go in not saying no, but I would consider it.
I think the only person that beats Wesley in a final 2 is Karen at that point. Karen simped me, whatever. I don't care. I think Wesley getting to that point is just very, very incredible, honestly. But with Sean, I remember there was who got voted out that round? I can't. Kevin, I think. And Karen goes to me and is like, there's 2 people I'm sus of, Mikey and Sean. And I tell you right now, maybe Mikey made social connections on his own, but God damn it, if it weren't for, once again, the motherfucking burrito, Karen, me, the boat, Sean, I bet your ass would be where Ian's placement is.
But I will also say that Sean was in the boat, and regardless of how he got there, I think he recognized that he was on the bottom, because I'm pretty sure he was on the bottom from my perspective, and he had the wherewithal and he did that. He was like, I'm not making it to the end if I stay with them. So I respect that, even though I was
he brought that up when we talked about getting you out, Brian. That's how I found out about the boat. That's where I heard the boat, and like all of that shit got out. So he absolutely recognized he was not the priority there.
And that's good game awareness. So I see that. Vanessa, you had your hand raised?
Yeah. So I just want to ask people, because this had never, by the time I got out of the game, I had never been like, oh wow, Sean's playing like a great game. Sean's doing a lot. That like never crossed my mind. Like the times that I voted for him were just out because the other options were people that I was closer with. I never like had the impression that he was like playing as you guys are describing it. So I guess what I'm wondering is, if for someone who's playing like a game that active, what I'm interested in is things like them keeping their threat level lower than it could have been, and them keeping like people who are going to be perceived as bigger threats in the game until just the right moment. So I'm wondering, when did Sean playing a strong game or an active game or being a threat or anything like that start to be the perception for you guys? Because I'm assuming it was either I was out of the know and it was before I left, or it was well after I left.
There's actually, you raised a very good, interesting point, because I completely forgot that vote where Hurd got sent home. It was almost Sean. Because originally, if that original 5 was formed, it was going to be me, Karen, Cam, Vanessa and Hearn, choosing between Sean and Glow, and it seemed like it was falling, like leaning much more towards Sean at that point. Then also on top of that,
yeah.
And then at that point, I was looking at the merge votes, and personally, my relationship with Sean was one of which we both got to be devil's advocate to one another. I felt that within the boat, that was the person who I was going to be targeting first because I felt he had stronger re-existing relationships with Glow, with Wesley, with I don't really know about Ian or Kevin all that much, but I know at least they were on the same original starting tribe together. And he weighed a lot of, is this really the smart move? Should we really be voting off Glow? Should we really be voting off Ian? And very much weighing the merits of some other alternative options, or maybe we can get certain votes. I sort of had to steer him away from that because, well, for one, although whether this is accurate or inaccurate or not, I felt it was in a comfortable enough a spot where I didn't need to negotiate other options. I felt solid in the relationships I already had outside of these people. But now my real question really is, actually now thinking about it, I think it was after 7, I was very much trying to figure out, put the pieces together as to how that vote came into fruition. Because I doubt he voted for Wesley. I don't think he's so out of the know that he was one of the straggler, like lone votes in that point. I know Brian used some power to lock Keaton from voting, for like earlier or something like that. But
the temptation.
I guess I'm reaffirming. Yeah. Look at that. Oh, look at that. High five. I didn't even know you got it.
I have a question. Jacob brought up how the Hearn vote was going to be, could have been Sean. I also thought the same thing. But I want to ask a question. Who do we give credit to for Hearn going?
Can I just chime in?
Listen. All right. Who did Sean need to get out Brian? See, it's
Wes and Karen.
Right? It's adding up. Who did Sean tell Keaton to vote at a move where he wanted to flip on the boat? Keaton?
I'm not following the conversation.
My point is, Sean survived the Hearn vote, maybe because of Karen and, some of Glow. It's still a little iffy to me. Sean needed Karen and Wesley towards for that Brian vote. And, Sean's mastermind gameplay thought, let me get Keaton to vote me.
Yeah.
It's sketchy.
The logic that he had is that if I am voting Sean and no one knows, then now it only takes 3 votes to do something, and then I can revote.
And he got me to put my vote on you, Keaton, and ensuring that he had the numbers. I was dumb enough to fall for it because I trusted the vote.
And he was letting me know that the entire time as well.
I thought Mike got you to do that.
Well, I thought it was both of them, kind of from my perspective, but I credit more to Sean, especially since Sean was the one that pulled the move. But that goes back to what you were saying. Did Mikey know that I was going home?
Yeah, the only thing I was going to chime in and say is I know Jacob asked about like the starting, like the first tribe. And I will say that is one of the quietest fucking starting tribes I've ever been on. Everyone was like so quiet aside from like 2 people. And that was Glow and Sean. Sean was one of the only people I feel like was like somewhat active on that tribe. He was a real like team player, but like that's really all I can say based on Sean, especially because, never fucking going to tribal aside from 2 times. I really don't have much else to say other than Sean was somebody that I was planning to prioritize in this game, but that is all I will say because I don't know his game beyond that. So somebody else who was more active, go ahead. I think to contribute.
I was thinking about this earlier, and I think the best way to describe, I guess, this final 2 and how they ended up getting there, because a lot of people like at the end of the day, they did what the other 18 of us could not do. They make it to the end. They played whatever game socially they needed to do in order for people to feel comfortable with them. I feel like it was less so them actively doing stuff and putting themselves out there rather than them doing things that are less egregious, like making like less like active mistakes. Like there's people who may be sent home, like in a particular vote that was 6-4 in the pre-merge. That our tribe sucked at, and I ended up going to tribal for. Like that, for example, that's actively bad gameplay. That's someone who puts themselves in the line of fire and is much to their own fault, to their own detriment for the way that they handled those relationships and handled playing and talking and conducting game with people. I don't think Sean and Mikey have as much of a glaring flaw in their game, or such so that they were playing so poorly while other people were making larger threats of themselves and not successfully managing those threat levels to do so. I think Sean, I think, played somehow more active than Mikey, which is, I don't really have much evidence other than my personal relationship with him, seeing him more strategically active, seeing him at least have like some seeds of questioning, like maybe we can use some of these straggler, these easy votes at the beginning of the game, because that's what the meta was. Just, oh, if we could all come to a consensus on an easy vote, that gives us another round, that buys us some more time to foster some more relationships. I don't think Sean was really in the mold of that, because I think he noticed he was going to be very quickly next once some of those easy targets got sent home. So, yeah.
Okay, so no more questions?
They both played under the radar games, but like Sean was a little more active as to what Jacob was saying. So I agree with that.
Well, like Jacob says, like, what mistakes did they make?
That's kind of a good thing.
But like, what were they like? How did they even play the game? You have to be playing the game to make mistakes in the game. Like, what moves did they make other than voting where they were told to vote and the alliance that they were insulated in? Like, that's the thing. Like, they were socially involved there, but they weren't really scheming the plans. Like, can y'all say, like, who was running the boat? Who were calling the shots in the boat? The
burrito.
Yeah. Exactly. So, like, that's why I'm like, what mistakes were there to be made by them? They weren't doing anything from what I've heard still. And that's the thing too. I don't know if they will be able to explain their games. Like, we have a lot of question marks because we're not sure. There could be a lot behind the scenes that they did do together that we just don't know about. But I still have yet to believe that.
And that's why for me, like, when it comes to like jury questions and things like that, I think what I'm probably going to ask is, if the two of them were a final two from the beginning, I want to see what they thought of each other's games. So I'm going to be like, Sean, what did Mikey do? Sean, Mikey, what did Sean do? To like see if they actually were working together, or if it just ended up that way and they just like, late game decided, hey, let's go final two. So I think that will maybe give us some clarity.
I wouldn't be surprised if they had an implicit, if it was just like they had found two with multiple people and whatever, and people were just like, this is the most convenient one to say we had a final two since the beginning of whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, to the view of at least Sean, maybe Mikey had other, connections with other people that were going to keep him farther. But to my view of Sean was given, hey, here's a 5. We need to get to 9. By the way, that's majority. And he was like, okay, bro stuff. And that's just like I said, maybe I feel like Mikey has made more of a social connection than Sean. But Sean's had more of an attempt at making moves. I don't know.
I mean, I will say, to kind of back that up, did the Brian move with Sean, but then immediately wanted to be back good with you and Mikey. Like, had a very easy way. I mean, you said it yourself. That was a 4-2. Like, that could have been a 4 majority. And yet I still was inclined to want to be good with Mikey. Like, my own personal biases, maybe. I don't know. His good social game, perhaps. But like, there is something to that too.
And another thing I'm interested in is how much of them not being the proactive members of moves was purposeful. Like, how much of it was that them understanding what was happening and them sitting back, and then just actually getting dragged into things and being like, oh shit, this is happening. Cool, here we go.
Well, I'm glad that you bring that up, because Sean brought up to me and was like, at final 11, I was going to flip the vote with Jacob. And I believe the two others he said were Cam and Karen. And I said, oh, okay, everyone that you just said is gone. So, you can go ahead and tell me, he's like, oh, I never got to that point.
I'm sorry, what?
No, okay. So, because he is very similar to, like I said earlier, just felt like he was more like guess being devil's advocate and like, is this really the plan? Is this what the avenue we go? He never mentioned anything about Cam and Karen to me for one. And I'm at church when this is all happening, and I'm actually wearing some church merch right now. Church merch rhymes. But no, and then like maybe like half an hour later, it was like, actually, not. Never mind. I'm just thinking out loud. Like I forgot. I left all the chats, so I can't even reread exactly what he said. But it was just something along the lines of, "Oh no, mind me. Just thinking out loud. You know, LOL, RFLXD. I voted for Ian." So I feel like maybe he had the idea, which is why I feel like he's being a bit more strategically active. And also just on top of that, like I feel like Sean was just more available. Like it was very hard. It was harder for me to get a hold of Mikey because of his work schedule. But even with like Sean like traveling and being with this girl, I feel like he was more readily available to talk to and strategize with. I don't know. I just want to hear other people's perspective on that, because I'm hearing Mikey played better socially. And although I have more history with him and obviously have better rapport with him in this game alone, if I just had known Mikey this game, I wouldn't be as inclined to vote him.
Let me ask this. Does anyone, you don't have to say who it is, but going into this, does anyone have their mind made up right now? I thought that was the answer, but I just wanted to be sure. Okay, then with that, is there anything that either one of them could say / confirm / explain and do it well enough where they'll get your vote guaranteed? So if you have an answer to like one question and they answer it exactly how you want, they'll get your vote.
Anyone can go before me.
I think that's the hardest part. I don't know what I need them to answer. Like, I don't know what I need them to say for me to respect their game, because of how in my own game I was, and like how in Lake's game and the burritos game. Like, I don't know what I need them to like come forward with, but I really want to know everyone else's questions, because I think that'll help also.
I just want to know what moves they made on their own. Like, honestly, that's all I want to know.
Jacob, go ahead and go.
Jacob, just go. Yeah.
But I know, but no, I know you were raising your hand too. Like, so.
No, I'm going last.
Okay. Well, my question is for Sean. During the touchy subjects, and maybe it's just because he was drunk or high, but he put me for one of the answers when I wasn't even there anymore.
That man drinks a lot.
I was about to say, I don't know if that's a good thing, because it was who's actually running the game, and obviously I'm flattered. I'm touched. I was blushing when I saw that, but like I just need to know what that was.
I think it was just simply he drinks a lot because he drinks a lot.
I think I need if for my vote to be locked on Mikey, I need him, and obviously this needs to be the truth. I don't need him to just say it. I need him to be like, I knew Brian was going. I played you and Karen. I was still good with Sean, and I had a clear cut to final 3 and final 2. If that's not the truth, it's undecided. And I need Sean to not only apologize for saying it was a strategic base of winning blackjack. Just kidding, but I can't believe he said that shit.
Oh, don't remind me of that, actually. I do have questions.
He told me after Karen lost fire, he was like, yeah, I was thinking strategic on it. Dude, it's fucking blackjack. You drew a 20. Like, you need to get to 21. But besides that, I need Sean to tell me a game move he had that he started and he finished and he knew was going to happen, and the work he did for it to happen. Pretty much, I need him to explain just how much input he had on the Brian. Like, was it 100% him, or was it this doesn't happen without Keaton, this doesn't happen without Karen, this fucking doesn't happen without Wesley? I need to realize that from him, and then maybe I'll vote him to win.
You're basing it off one round? Is that what I'm hearing?
That's all I can.
His one move.
I want to hear more.
Even his move.
I want to hear more than that. Like, I want to hear, was there more that they did, even if it was like subtle things? Is there more that that either of them did to contribute to the overall story of the game, or did they sit on their ass? The more that they sat on their ass, the less that I care to make an informed decision, and the more that I care to see if it lands heads or tails. So I'm going to see what happens.
That's my bit.
Okay, fine. I'll spin a wheel. I'll spin a wheel then. Does that make you feel better?
Yes.
I'll spin a wheel.
Wheel decide is always the right move.
I mean, I am honestly planning a coin flip for my question. I don't know what my question is going to be, but after they answer, I'm going to do a whole spiel of, okay, well, I genuinely think y'all still got here by a lot of luck. So we're going to see which one of you has the most luck, heads or tails. And then I'm not going to say which one because I'm not going to commit to that on live stream just in case I like change my mind or something. But I want them to really sit and think about how lucky they are to be there.
I have thought about asking those two which burrito condiment is their favorite, chicken, steak, or beef. And whoever picks steak.
I'm trying to. I'm sorry. Did you just call them condiments?
That's not a condiment.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Burrito meat.
That's not a condiment.
That's not a condiment. Condiment's like
ketchup. That's an ingredient, Lake. You're talking about ingredients.
This is good conversation.
This is the most important conversation we've had this entire time.
I think
I just love how Jacob's getting so loud about not being a condiment. But the 80 times I said that shit, he didn't say a word. A word.
Because we were in the game. Now I have no social ramifications for arguing.
Mm-hmm. All right. Nothing else to say?
I kind of feel like when I look at their games and when I know of them, especially after talking to people and getting more of a picture of like what they've done and hearing what everyone's saying right now, I'm not like struck by either of them. They don't seem that, there's nothing in there that makes me feel like I have to vote something or I'm like lying to myself in some kind of way. So I kind of have the attitude said that he would have it depends on what happens during Final Tribal. And I kind of just mean like, if you didn't play a Survivor game that like won me the vote already before Final Tribal, like this is a different skill. Show me that you can like tell a story and be compelling and like frame it in a way that's likely to convince people that like your game was worthy. And like that's basically like coming down to like public speaking skills more than like how they actually played the game. But I don't really care because it's more dramatic for me. So that's kind of my attitude.
I would like to hear about their jury management because for me, even though when I came into jury, I made a list and I felt most good about Sean, even though he was the one that blindsided me. And it's like, I want to hear what they did to like manage the jury because I got a couple of them questions at Tribal Council and I want to see if they were listening to like what they actively did to manage us. To like, Karen, I was finished. You can go.
Did you know that Sean blindsided you too? Like when you came in, he was at the top of your list. Did you know it was him at that point still?
I didn't know it was him. Like the only person I knew for sure was Wesley, and because I did the math, but I didn't know it was him. But I'm not mad at it. I'm not a bitter juror, so I'm gonna respect him. And I felt good with him then, and I still feel good about if I were to vote him now. I wouldn't regret it.
I know and this goes into Sean's strategicness. He said just how hard he tried to get Karen out. But Brian, Jacob, it sure was easy getting the target off Karen to Sean and Mikey when I would just go in the boat and just be like, hey, we're not doing it.
Also, like, again, when did Karen finally get votes? Like, always the target, but never actually got votes. So let's like, how hard were you trying to get me out also?
I think when I just don't know. It's coming to speeches for me. It really does. But right now, maybe I am decided. Maybe I know where my vote's gonna go. Maybe I struggle to find a reason how Sean played a winning game. Because if
Mikey?
I mean, if Mikey at anything kept good social basis with everyone when they were at the door, were any of you when y'all were voted out like fuck Mikey? Fuck him, besides Karen. No one was like, fuck Mikey.
A little bit.
I'm sorry?
little bit, because it seemed like he did like a very like corny like acts about like deciding at tribal to vote for Keaton with me, as if like everybody hadn't corresponded with me about voting for Keaton. He was like, "Oh, are we doing that? Is that what we're doing?" When I like acknowledged that I was gonna vote.
pretty sure
That is the single weirdest thing that he did this entire game.
Yeah, and it's like okay, so I'm assuming that he's the one that voted with me. That's my understanding. That doesn't make me like his game. Like I'm not. You can't
I'm
win
pretty
over
sure-
like that. Like
It's weird to me because when not 10 minutes after like we get put into our tribes like officially, he immediately says your name to me. Like immediately he says it. So to find out that he's the one that ended up voting for me confuses me the most, because it seemed like it might have legitimately been just to try and gain favor with you as you were leaving and nothing more.
Well,
It was a split vote.
trying to gain favor. Like that's not at all how I approach these things.
It was just a split vote, but if I gotta be honest about that round that Vanessa left, I think Sean gained the most and pushed the most to get you out, Vanessa. So I think it benefited him the most to get you out because you had previously voted him and he did not feel it was good with you. So I think that was a subtle move on Sean's part that benefited his game, that like better positioned himself from my perspective.
I'm sorry, Vanessa, but was anyone going to be upset to see Vanessa gone at that point?
That's a hard-hitting question.
I just like, I think we can all say she had been floated before and everyone knew she wasn't going to go that far. It didn't seem like there were talks of her staying too far in.
I can
weren't
say
sure if she was actually solid with and whatnot.
I can say, and I think Vanessa deserves for people to agree with me. I was fucking terrified of Vanessa.
I've been saying that.
I was terrified of you, Vanessa. You are a comp queen, and you're pretty smart.
I can attest to that in the burrito. Nick was always saying that.
Because I was convinced Keen was going at that round. I'm not gonna lie. When I saw Keen on Zoom, I was confused.
So was I. But Jacob, I'm gonna fight you. That's it. That's the whole statement.
I think this game has been funny. I think we are decided that we're undecided. I think at the end of the day, they need to make us realize what they did by themselves. Because I mean, really, like, take me not getting cast in this game. Where the fuck do they end up? I mean, honestly, Mikey probably does more than Sean, I think. But like, take the burrito not helping them. Take the burrito pitching to Cam and Karen, which almost could have happened to be a final five. Where does Mikey and Sean end up? I need to see how they benefited from being given a final five opportunity and how they made sure that they got to the end.
Okay.
I think one of the things
So with that,
we've been saying by
does anyone
themselves,
else have any?
Sorry.
As a juror, it wouldn't hurt them to stroke my ego a little bit to like say include me in like I had to get you out because you were a big threat, Brian, and that's what I would like to see. And yeah, just me, maybe just me.
I love being buttered up.
My thing is just when people are saying what do they do by themselves, Survivor is inherently a cooperative game, not cooperative, but like you have to do stuff with other people all the time. You can never do
but also have your own ideas.
Someone out.
But you have to have your own ideas, and we don't know their own ideas.
Yeah.
Like, in order to do something inherently, you need to be able to do it with other people. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have never decided that you are going to try and push something that is your own idea, and you decide consistently to not do that, it's a lot harder to want to look at you and say, that's someone I want to vote for to win this game.
And you also have to think about like how much it affects you in the game, not just how it affects like other people as well. Like, does this move incentivize me, or is this move going to be a detriment to my game? And I think that's something else that like we definitely want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
But who am I talking? I was inactive as fuck.
You still get a vote, Kevin, and you can like listen and make an educated decision.
I think that says something though, Kevin, too, that like you're not the only one undecided. Like you were one of the first, you were the first out of the jury, and yet the people last out are also like, I don't know, I need to hear from them what they did. Like that says something.
Yeah,
definitely.
Because then neither of them played a game that like self-evidently before they like explained it however they're going to impresses us. And like that's fair enough. Like that was kind of like how I felt I wanted to play as soon as the Hearn vote had happened. Like just like kind of like you said, like waiting in the background, like listening, kind of like following along and not being perceived as initiating moves. But I would have expected one of them to have had more on a resume by now.
Yeah. And like going back to your point, Karen, like when I was in the jury chat and like hearing what people were saying, I heard so much about your game. I heard so much about Lake's game. I heard so much about Cam's game, even. I heard so much about Brian's game, Jacob's game. Like I did not hear really much about Mikey and Sean's game. So the fact that like we are this far in and we still have so little knowledge of what these two actually did on their own, I think is a real testament to how they played. And hopefully we can get that clarity within the finale.
I think that's part of it too. Like this has been a really good game.
Oh, yeah.
Like this is a game where a lot of us have pretty full resumes for what we did in the game. And I don't know if they have their own resumes. Like that's the thing. Like you take out what I did, you take out what Lake did, even Keaton sometimes, Cam, even Wes. Like that's the thing. Like
don't put my name into this.
Yeah, I know. I just needed your reaction. Damn. Yeah, it just feels like there's not a lot of wiggle room left for them to have done much. So it's really going to be like, can they tell a good story? I feel.
Yeah, goes back to what Vanessa was saying about being a good public speaker.
Exactly.
What really shows, and this is just me repeating what Karen said, like the winner could be decided on who kisses our ass the most. Like honestly. And that's just I can't vote on gameplay. I cannot. That the chance of that happening went out 9th, 7th, fucking 5th, 4th, 3rd. I mean, voting on gameplay, maybe it's thought of, but I don't think the winner will be decided on their game.
I don't think that kissing our ass the best is something that we should like dismiss as not part of the game, because both playing games that depend on their ability to do that, which means that all they have to go off of is how well they know us and how well they know what's going to be compelling to us, and the extent to which they learn that throughout the game is like an integral part of their ability to like win the game with the strategy that they used. So like if either of them like neglected that too much, then like they're not going to be as well informed about how they should appeal to us.
I think this is the most even final two that could have happened this season, though, and it's really making for an interesting finales because either of them could win.
Could be decided by Keaton's wheel. Like, literally.
I hope so.
I hope so.
As the most,
I'm voting the opposite of Lake. I'm countering Lake's vote. If I figure out where Lake's voting, I'm voting opposite Lake.
Go ahead, with.
I was just saying, I am probably the most locked sure here, but even a speech could probably turn me a little bit.
Okay. Does anyone else have any final thoughts?
You look like a duck.
And I know you said not to be personal, Alex, but they both stink really bad.
We will not have any comments like that.
I also want to know what the moral of like the story of this game is if either of them wins. Like what is the theme of this season and how does their game embody it? I want to know.
We hate women.
I will be genuinely upset at any of you if y'all go into finale and say, what do you think this finale as a natural disaster is like?
Oh, I know the question. And if anyone says motherfucking earthquake again, I'm done.
Can we all ask that question just over and over to them?
Yes, and they have to answer different
That would be
things.
We
so
all
good.
ask that question and then spin a wheel, flip a coin, make them do rock, paper, scissors, like some luck-based thing.
Yeah,
Everyone
Could be
asks in a row,
blackjack.
and you're like, all right, you can't ask this one, you can't answer this one, you can't answer this one. It has to be a different natural disaster.
Oh my
Answer
god.
how to do blackjack?
Ugh. Well, I know how to be more strategic next time I play. So I guess that was my one strategic downfall in this fucking game.
I actually have another strategic downfall of Karen. I'm so glad this got brought up. The Brian vote, the blind side. I was at work, and then my phone died, and I go back home pissed. Brian, I want you to know I was fucking livid. I was so pissed.
You and me both.
I get on call with Karen, fucking steaming. Her first comment, how was work?
I did not say it like that.
Are you fucking kidding me? And then she was like, I don't know what you want me to say. Oh, okay.
Could have apologized.
I didn't know if he wanted an apology. I don't want to insult the man.
My plan at that point is a little iffy, but I believe I've decided Wesley was going to go. What was that? 7th, 6th?
6
was Keaton, and then 5th was going to be Mikey, and then 4th was going to be Sean, and then either of you take me to final 2.
And would you have cut Karen or would you have thrown that final immunity?
I would have cut Karen. I told Karen that.
You liar.
At final 3, if I win and Brian's there, no,
You lie.
no, I would have cut.
You lie. You don't need Brian's jury vote. It's fine. You lie. I do not believe you would have taken Brian over me.
Yes, I would have, because guess who I was taking over you originally?
Mikey.
Thank you.
Yeah, I knew that, but that's Mikey.
Also, I want to let it be known that Mikey was going to cut me if he won. I don't know. Wait, y'all did see that? Yeah, that was on live stream.
We saw that.
Yeah.
I cried inside.
That shows how cutthroat he is, and I can respect that.
I think I think I'm decided, me personally, I'm not saying y'all base it off of this. With Sean, I'm just going to be like, without the boat, what do you do in this game? And I want him to go down what he would have done if the boat didn't form. And then for Mikey, I'm going to say, how easy was this for you to make? And that's just my personal question, because, like, you know, he was being a little cutthroaty. And if he really did know about the Brian vote and then played it off like that, I just want to ask him how easy he thought it was going to be.
Okay. Well, with that being said, if nobody has any other final comments,
I would like to say thank you, Alex, for being here and also
yes,
in supporting this game. And it's been a pleasure to have you.
Yes. So if you're on cam, I want you to physically clap for Alex right now for being our jury moderator this season. Unfortunately, we couldn't get season 1's moderator. He kind of wasn't available at the time. So thank you, Keaton. I appreciate it. But again, thank you guys for participating in the jury roundtable. Again, thank you, Alex, for being here and, you know, making sure they weren't screaming at each other. It's always a nice, successful jury roundtable when there's a little drama, but not too much. So with that, I'm going to stop the stream.